I can't fathom what my life would be like had I not moved to Nashville. It's crazy. I mean, I spent 3 years on staff with Dolly Parton. I was a contributing photographer to Michelle Obama's book. I'm working on Winona's wardrobe archive right now. Like, I've worked with Steve Cropper, just died, but he became a client of mine the last few years, and I got to know him. Like, there's so many things. Tom T. Hall was a friend of mine. Like, I have gotten to know so many people. I did that stint with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as I did all their oral history programs and listened to all those interviews. And I've sat in Grace Slick's living room and listened to her tell her life story. Crazy that this stuff has been my life. And it has been my honor and privilege to do it. But I think that had I taken myself seriously at all, none of it would have happened, because I would have become very, I was going to move here and do this. I think that people get laser focused. And instead, I just kind of let shit happen.
There has got to be more than this.
Stacie Huckeba. It's
Hi.
so great to see you.
Korby.
I was going to say thanks for coming over the river, but you're already on the right side of the river. So thanks for coming crossways to talk with me for a little bit.
Always come to the 37206.
And
It's nice to run into you somewhere other than the Publix.
Naturally. No, I know. Well, or the softball field.
Or the softball fields.
And maybe that would be, let me just chart my vision for this conversation, which is I'd love to talk about you. And
It's my favorite topic.
Spoken like a true East Nashville. And your various enterprises, and I think that mostly the photography that you do is what you're most known for now. Mm-hmm. And that might be a way of telling that story could be with where it began in the East Nashville chapter with Todd Snider. Yep. And obviously I want to talk about Todd Snider because very few people knew him as well as you did. And you've got some stories that I think, let me just say my personal interest in this is
now that he's dead, I can really tell the stories.
Excellent tack. I've just watched endless old interviews, just watched Reddit 5 people just telling stories, just because I love people talking about him and hearing the stories. And that's what I'd love to get a few out.
It's hard for me to watch any of I can't watch anything that's got his live self on it yet. I can't listen to his voice, or it's still a little fresh. Yeah. The wound is still a little hard for me to watch that stuff. But I too have loved, what I have loved seeing on social media is so many people coming out of the woodworks that have the version of Todd that I know, that are finally showing it, like reaching out to young artists and telling them how much he loved their record, and just sending them an email out of the blue, like contacting people just out of the blue and sending them these things. Or one of my favorites is where he sent the note to Adeem the artist talking about oh my God, that lipstick was so great. I tried it and didn't look nearly as cool. I should have gone with your color. And those types of stories, because that is my friend Todd. That's the person that I knew as a very kind, supportive, champion cheerleader. Now, he loved a good story, and nobody would hype up a lie about themselves more than that guy. So a lot of his naughty reputation, I feel is very much on purpose.
Embellished.
Not embellished. He just loved it. If people had some sort of wild ass story about him that may not have even been remotely true, he leaned in and loved it. He'd be the first one to be go share that story.
Yeah. I deny nothing.
Add that. Add this. The tale of him and Elizabeth Cook wreaking havoc on the Belcourt Theater. None of that is true. But him and Elizabeth were oh my God, we look like rock star. Yes. Yeah. We trashed the dressing room, barfed everywhere, stole everything out of the concession stand. Yes.
Guilty.
Lean into that.
Well, is it... Okay, so maybe we could also start here, which is that our history goes back almost 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy. As long as I've lived here, you were basically the first person I met. You were kind of working at a record label of sorts.
Yeah, I was working with Kelly over at the record label. I got very quickly fired from that. But, I had no business, but whatever. I helped Kelly with that. And she had pinged you as an up and coming artist that she was interested in working with. And that's how we met. But then you found out I was friends with Todd, and you were like, I'm going to hang out with that chick.
And I was an honorary member of the the East Side Sluggers.
Sluggers.
For maybe 3 practices, scrimmages.
I don't know. Were there ever a game? I think they were all just practices. Like we just all went over there and smoked and drank wine and hung out in the dugout. And sometimes we ran a base. I don't know that there was ever a game. There was no other team.
Yeah,
there was no other team.
We just played each other.
We were the Sluggers versus Nashville. I don't know. Nobody else. Garth Brooks never showed up for the opposing team.
He had a standing invitation,
but it was fun.
It was so fun. And I got to meet the first wave of really talented, wonderful, what I would say like true East Nashvilleans.
Yes.
And so that is through you. I just want to say publicly thank you for making that introduction. And also that I got to meet Todd through you. And
I remember I had to go to his house for something one day and you were in the car with me and you were like,
can I? It was great. And so what I want to know is, did you have were you a photographer before you moved to East Nashville?
I've been a photographer since I was a little kid. Like there are pictures of me. My Uncle Jack used to call me Little Miss Hollywood. I had a camera attached to my wrist from the time I was wee tiny. I had a grandmother who loved taking pictures. She wasn't a photographer. It was mostly just like family stuff or whatever. But something got in my head one time. Like I think I was with her when we went to pick up the film or something. I can't remember the exact thing, but I do remember very specifically getting this idea of like, you can push a button and then like that is like frozen there. Like that's captured. And I became obsessed with the idea of that. And I had my first photography business when I was like 14, taking senior pictures for the kids that were older than me in high school.
How did you find your way to East?
Well, that is a convoluted, long sort of story. I actually knew Todd before he ever had his first record deal. I was friends with a band called Son of Slam, they're mentioned in one of his early records. I think the second record. I was dancing on the tables on it with Son of Slam. Those guys were my friends. I lived in Dallas and they were a Memphis-based band. But when they came to Dallas and played, it was a kind of a incestuous little pool of Memphis, Dallas bands. And that was back in the Pantera days. And like everybody was kind of that little road, that I-40 road between Memphis and Dallas was like the same thing. And so Son of Slam would stay with me when they would come to my house, and I was friends with their singer. I was specifically friends with their singer, Chris Scott, and Todd was obsessed with him because that guy is like, or especially then, was like Satan. Like he was crazy. And Todd lived upstairs from their guitar player, Eric Lewis. And so he would go to their shows, but they wouldn't go on till like 3:00 in the morning at these like dungeon places or attics somewhere. Like it was a wild heavy metal days. And we all kind of looked at Todd like, who's the weird college kid?
Yeah.
But he was obsessed with it. And so that's how I knew Todd. And we had been friends, and then he got his first record deal with Margaritaville and eventually moved to Nashville or whatever. But I had stayed sort of in touch with him. And I wound up moving several places. I went to Colorado, Arizona, and then landed in Southern California. But he came out there a lot with his band. And so that's how I got to know Peter Cooper and Tommy Womack and Molly Thomas and all of those people long before I ever moved to Nashville. And then just a series of events took place. I wasn't happy living in Southern California, and it was Todd's idea. He's like, come here, that lots of people need pictures. But I was doing marketing and PR out there. I wasn't really doing pictures anymore. That was how I started that job at the record label when I first moved here. And he hooked me up. Peter came and picked me up at the airport the weekend of Thanksgiving before I moved here. And
Did you know Peter before?
Yeah, I met him through Todd always and I'd go to Reno and see him, or I'd go up to Petaluma and see him. Like if he was on the West Coast, I was kind of brought along I'm in a couple of his really early music videos and, stuff like that. But yeah, he was the one who was like, get the fuck out of there, come to Nashville. There's so many people that need pictures. And so really, so I moved here and moved over onto Fatherland and lived there for a couple of months. And then a house came up for rent that was literally in the backyard, like our backyards kissed of where he lived I lived on Ordway. He lived on Ordway and I lived on Lakehurst, and our backyards were there. And we basically just formed a little compound there for the first 4 or 5 years that I lived here. Him and Peter just took me under their wing and took me everywhere and introduced me to everybody. And
this is the late Peter Cooper we're talking about.
Yeah.
Musician, songwriter, journalist, music journalist.
Yeah.
Beloved figure of the scene. And so when I'm tracing my steps now, where East Nashville Skyline came out, And
I came to Nashville.
That was right after
I was
that.
right in that window.
in that
Yeah.
wave, yeah. That's
Yeah.
when I came, because I heard that record and I was like, I have to.
Yeah,
be
I'd been
where
here a
this
little while
is
longer with you.
happening.
Yeah, but yeah. I came right during that. I don't remember the exact timing of when that record came out exactly, but it was during that thing that was happening is when I got here.
Do we have a photo from one of those early years that in that reel that you sent me that we could riff on? Is there one in there?
I don't remember exactly what I sent you. I pulled stuff that you said. It's so hard because all of the pictures, like you were like, hey, pull 4 or 5 pictures that you could tell a story about with Todd. And it's like, that's hilarious because I've got a story for every single picture. Like they all have a story. But I don't know if I sent, I'd have to look at my phone.
That's fine. Well, we have them. We're going to throw
Let's
them up
see.
on this.
Okay, show me and then I'll tell you what I got.
We'll get there in a second.
And I told you to pick whatever you wanted out of the pantheon that's out there.
I was just glad you sent me those because baby's sick. This is my life outside of this.
Yeah, no, all of those had
chaotic.
a sort of a specific story, but like, I'll do an early pick. I mean, I have early picks. I don't know if it's one.
Well, here's one. This isn't a pick, but it's you also have been known to sling a video camera now and then.
Yes.
And you shot that short doc, and this is probably the record after.
I didn't shoot the short doc. Like I did shoot.
But this is where I'm going with this. It's called Come to East Nashville.
Yes.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Yes.
And Todd showed
so many people came to East Nashville. So many people. That was my tour. Like the car tour, the car portion of that is literally the day I got here to East Nashville. And he had Elvis with him. Dave was the tour manager at the time. And Dave called me at 6:00 in the morning and was like, go downstairs. Todd said, go downstairs. And so I didn't know. And I had a $100 point and shoot Canon something. I was not a filmmaker.
Yeah.
That was not the purpose.
But the car was his convertible.
The convertible, but the top didn't go up.
You're right.
And so he came to get me in the snowstorm. With the top down.
And that's what you see on the
But that was my tour. Like
Yeah.
the portions of that are the car, I just filmed it for my own posterity's sake and edited it into that because all that other stuff was just that whole movie is just basically a compilation for my own memory. That was for my own memories of kind of like my first 4 to 6 months of living here. It's just sort of random pieces of footage that I shot with my camera for my own posterity. But that tour of Nashville, of East Nashville, that was my tour for when I got to town.
His like showing his friend around town
yes.
tour.
Now you're here. Let me give you the specs.
And that's what it feels like. It feels like a conversation among friends.
That's what it was. Like it was, we made a lot of things that we filmed for other people, but that was not something that we made for other people initially. Like that was just me being like, what is happening right now? Because it was such I moved here from Southern California. Like all of it was just such a mind warp for me to be here and there's snow and all this and with Todd and I had just left this very sort of glamorous life in Southern California with palm trees and 70 degree whatever. But that was his tour of East Nashville to show me around the neighborhood.
Maybe we could pull up one of those pictures, Jared. We got that?
Oh,
great.
Oh, see, now I sent you this because like, again, some of this stuff is like my, that's my friend Todd. Like he looks like he's waving at somebody, but he's not. Those are his geese and he fucking loved those geese. And I'm kind of worried about them because he fed them and took care of them, but knew every single one of them. And there was a new guy this day, there was a new geese in the thing and he was yelling at him like, hey, who's that? Who have you got in the group? Like, that's just me out there one day that we weren't shooting pictures. We weren't working. Like a whole lot of my relationship with Todd is not working. A lot of my relationship with he would just email me and be like, come to the house or bring the dog and come to the house. And so that's just one day we were hanging out and he went out to feed the geese. And I just thought nobody gets to see that side of him. Like that he's just a dude with a herd of geese and he loved it. You wouldn't, the little wagon is just so that he can drag his big giant buckets of peanut butter out and hurl them into the grass for the geese. And they knew when he was home and they knew when he didn't. It was their relationship with the geese was a weird thing because the geese sort of knew.
They knew their man, yeah.
They knew their man. But yeah, that's him waving at a goose.
Click us another one, Jay.
Oh, and
This is a beautiful shot.
This is a beautiful shot. This is another one of those things where he would call me out, but I knew when it was a little more serious because like he'd send I would get email. Usually it was emails. He wasn't a phone guy. He wasn't a phone guy, but he sent me an email and he was like, "Get your camera and come out." And he did this a lot with me. And I got to go. And now I got to go find this footage. And that's partly why I'm doing this here because I don't know how to do this on social media. Some of these pictures, I'm doing this here with you because I don't know how to do this properly. He gave a whole weird, not interview. He just had a lot of things to say to people and to the general public and to his fans. Mm-hmm. And then when we were done, he would say, "You'll know what to do with that one day."
So you have
I have several of these, but this is the still that I took of this monologue that he gave. He always knew, I think there was a mutual understanding between us that I would be around after he was not. We had lots of conversations about that. And this is one of those nights. And now I've got this stuff and I'm supposed to know what to do with it. And I don't have any idea what to do with it.
Well, he didn't say when you would. So.
That's correct. He did not give me a time frame. But so I've got to go now pull some of these interviews, but that's for one from 2015. That's shortly after he moved into that house out at the lake. And he gave a whole and the stuff he has to say in there is specifically for his fan base. And so I got to go get that stuff now. But
thankfully you're not just creative, but fairly organized too. So I imagine that footage
I
is
love
findable.
that you think that about me.
Well,
but I'll find
enough.
it.
You know what I mean?
This is another one of those things where he would call me out. This is sort of he just called me and said, "Come to the Cash Cabin." And I don't remember what he was working on. I think that whatever he was working on this particular night at the Cash Cabin may have never come out. Sometimes he just liked to go there and make music. But this was in the middle of the night, like the middle of the night. But this night also was, and there's a couple of Blind Lemon Pledge things in here, but this was in his Blind Lemon Pledge era. And he was like, "Come outside." And we went out on the porch. And he read me the 60-page poem and then talked to me about the board game where the point was that you would take a hostage. You had to take a willing hostage and go to another place. Like if you ever saw the board game, it was a real board game that he built. And when you spun it, always you landed on one. Like there was no option but to go one space. And the first space was like you had to go someplace where you wouldn't necessarily be accepted and take a willing hostage. And then you'd spin one, and then the next thing, and the whole thing was the whole thing was wild, and I never really fully grasped it. But I do remember getting a little bit nervous that night, and I even texted Peter Cooper, and was like, "If for some reason I don't show up tomorrow, I have been taken hostage by our troubadour." Like I was a little bit nervous. Like, am I the first willing Like, have you come up with this board game, and I'm the first willing hostage? Like, is this what's happening right now? And I was a little nervous this night, but it was beautiful. I loved sitting around just listening to him play music. And then he let me because I didn't bug him. I would just sit and listen to him and snap photos. He was just used to me always having a camera in front of my face. And this is one of those nights where he had just messaged me and said, "Come to the Cash Cabin." And I was like, okay.
It's a great shot.
And that is the Ryman. I felt like I was his Ryman wubby. Like if he played a show at the Ryman, I had to be there. Like Brian would call, like it didn't matter. I had to be there. I don't know that he ever paid me for ever being at the Ryman. But there was something about seeing me there that made he really revered that venue and he took it very seriously. I mean, for as many times as he played there and for as naughty as he acted there sometimes, he really revered the venue itself.
I saw an outburst at the Americana.
Yes.
I remember one
We'll
year.
fuck for a trophy. Thought Jed Helly was going to hit the ceiling. Yeah.
No, it's a story. Okay.
It is a story. Yeah. And so I just loved this image of him and I loved the access. I loved the kind of access that he allowed me to have with him, but I just thought this was really beautiful with the stained glass behind him and everything. It's a sound check. But it was just one of those moments that we shared together. And also I feel like, it's one of those images that now he's gone just feels really prophetic with it being from the behind.
It's an iconic photo. I mean, I could see that being in the up at the Ryman. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This I love because he's telling me a story, and this was not a photo shoot. He had just gotten that chess set from somebody, I don't know. But I have a picture of Gary Rossington. That's a portrait I took of Gary Rossington when I was doing the oral history program for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Gary Rossington, when I did his portrait, famously set up this chessboard in front of him for his portrait, which I thought, and Todd and I laughed and went over that picture a million times, the symbolism and all of the things that Gary Rossington could have potentially meant by this picture of him with this chessboard in front of him and playing this game of chess, especially considering the details of that interview that we did with him. Like, he would take breaks and go talk to his publicist. And the fun thing about doing those interviews I did all of the remaining living members of Skinnerd. All of their stories were vastly different as far as like who was all of the stories were different except for the plane crash. And then that story was exactly the same amongst all of them. But Todd and I particularly loved this image of Gary Rossington because he loved that stuff. And so even though I'll probably get Don't Sue Me Hall of Fame, but I let Todd listen to or watch the video of that interview with all those guys because he was obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. So I let him watch those interviews. And so he was obsessed with this picture of Gary Rossington after this interview of this chessboard in front of him. And so as I was sitting there that day, it just struck me. It's a very different portrait, but he was telling me some kind of story. And similar to what we're talking about here, like he loved narrating. He loved a story about himself. You know what I mean? Like he sort of played chess with that sort of narrative himself. And I just thought that it was a fun shot. And also what nobody can really see, but what I love in it, if you look closely, are his toes peeking out over the rook. Just those big toes over there. But yeah, it just was one of those pictures that I thought I just snapped it while he was telling me some kind of story.
It's also kind of meta too. I just feel like, because Todd, while he kind of portrayed sort of this aimless, happy-go-lucky, good hippie of goodwill, there's a high degree of calculation in a lot of what he did.
One of my favorite stories about photo shoots with him is like he was doing a photo shoot for the East Nashvilleian. And we did this whole photo shoot and he put on a sweater and a scarf and we did this stuff and it was snowing and he was leaning against a light pole down at the front of the Three Crow Bar and we did all these pictures of him and they were very stylized and very for the East Nashvilleian. And then he called me like 2 days later and was like, throw away all those pictures, which I didn't throw them away, but I was like, okay, I won't turn them in. He's like, meet me at the family wash. And I'm like, okay. And he had pulled up in that car and he had on just a t-shirt where he had written in Sharpie, like whoever his player was, whoever his player was at the time or whatever. And I was like, what are we doing? He's like, this is the East Nashvilleian photo shoot. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, I forgot. I don't give a shit. So it was like, I just thought that's so brilliant. Like it was so calculated. Speaking of calculated, yes. You know what I mean? Even the not giving
even
shit
the reverse calculation
was like, wait a second. I can't look like I give a shit. I can't look like I give a shit for this photo shoot. It was how much he gave a shit about the photo shoot. Yeah. And I sort of loved, I love that about that. So that's what I love about that is that we had this, we would sit or he particularly loved that image and would go into great detail of like the imagery of it and the thing and the juxtaposition and the chess piece and like all this stuff. And have got that shot of him at his house while he's sitting there telling me a story amid all the chess pieces to me, I just thought was fitting.
Perfect.
And this is just, I mean, this is one of our last photo shoots. Our photo shoots were also, I say that, I'm one of the only people that really got to be his photographer because he didn't like being directed. You couldn't direct him. So we would just hang out and talk shit. But he had on that shirt and then he had that thing hanging on his wall and just the chaos of all of it is what made sense for me. And it's just one of my favorite pictures. And as you can tell, like he's not posing, like he's still in the middle of telling me a story. Like he always was telling me stories, but I just loved all of that chaos surrounding him and his little piercing blue eyes. It's just made so much sense to me. Like to me, that sums him up as a person.
What year do you think this was?
Oh, this was recent. This was like, not last year, but maybe the year before, 2023, 2024, something like that. Mm-hmm. I think 2024, maybe 2023. Recent. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great shirt. Is that stitched together?
Somebody made it.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
It's probably in the estate. It's probably over at his house right now.
Or gone. There's no telling.
That's right. What is up with this photo?
Okay, so this is Blind Lemon Pledge, and this was a fun day. This was ridiculous. So again, we called them picture day, but we didn't call them photo shoots. He'd text me and be like, the boss or the label or whoever needed new stuff. He'd be like, it's picture day, come out. And this particular day descended into madness pretty quickly. Not quickly. I think I was there for like 12 hours that day. Mm-hmm. There are thousands of pictures from this photo shoot, but it's just picture day. But it started with him jumping around in his bedroom, and he changed clothes lots of times, and we just hung out. We just hung out. But unbeknownst to me, at some point in the afternoon, he had taken a ton of acid. And again, this was during the Blind Lemon Pledge phase. And all of a sudden, he started painting himself yellow in the bathroom, which I've got pictures of that too. Very weird pictures, but
painting.
He's painting himself yellow, and then we went out and hung around, and then at some point, he decided he wanted to get the yellow off, so we got into the lake. And so I was like, before you dunk yourself, I got to get this. And so we shot all these weird pictures of him. That's Blind Lemon Pledge. So that's not a photo shoot necessarily of Todd. That's Blind Lemon Pledge. Right. No. Yeah, but it descended into, that day was hilarious for me, but it descended into madness pretty quickly.
So did you have something that was actually useful for the
I mean, there's thousands of pictures.
But how did you get, the normal process, photographer shoots tons of footage and then selects 150 to send to the artist. How do you?
I know what to do there. And also we did a couple of photo shoots. There were several photo shoots throughout our career that we had to do over, because he would come out, and I don't think I sent you one of those. I should have. But we would have picture day, and I would send him the pictures, and he would love them, and he would send them out to friends and whatever, and people would love them. And then I'd get an email and be like, we got to redo it. And I was like, why? And there was always some stupid reason why. I don't look high enough or something. I'm like, you're real fucking high. There's no way that you don't look high enough. Like what? And so one day I kind of pinned him and was like, for the real, can you just tell me, so I don't want to waste your time? Like what happens there when we have to reshoot? What is the thing? Is it the lighting? Is it the setup? Like, what's the deal? And he was like, you got pictures of your friend, Todd. That's not the guy that plays songs. I forgot. He would get out of character. Like, we would just be hanging out. And he would get out of character as Todd Snider, the guy who writes songs and performs and plays around, and they would be pictures of Todd that he recognized. And that, those go back early,
you could see
one of my first photo shoots of him when I came to Nashville, like some of those pictures of the Three Crow, and there's a picture of him like this in a beanie that I'd posted on my Facebook thing after he first passed. Like, that came from one that all those had to get tossed because he was like, no, that's your friend. That's the guy. That's not the other guy performer. Yeah. And we'd have to reshoot, and he had to stay in character for that.
Hilarious.
But this is one of those days where I don't know what I really think that is Blind Lemon. He was so heavily into it he wanted his little photo shoot at Blind Lemon Pledge, and so we got it that day. But when I go through them, I kind of have learned over the years what the label needs. Like, so I'll send him everything. Like, he got everything because he got a kick out of it. But then I would send him a separate folder and be like, these are the ones I've got picked to send over to, your management or PR. And he would yay or nay what was going to go. But we got pretty good at that.
I wonder if this was one of those photos, but this is years and years ago. But it was a shot that you had, we were hanging out a lot more back then. And it was a shot that you had taken, I think at Eric's house down the street. They were recording or something, or he was listening to a mix, but it was like from behind. And Todd's sitting at the desk at the mixing console, and just the look on his face is just absolute, like nothing left to chance kind of expression, just so deliberate. And that I was just like, that's the secret Todd. That's not the Todd that is the public face of Todd Snider.
He took everything really seriously. That's what I mean. Like, even the absurdity was serious business to him. That's why he really leaned into those wild stories and tall tales and stuff. Like, he took that all very seriously, and none of it was about his ego. It was all about this bigger story that he felt like was being told about him, and he was open to any and all of it. And he really did buy into, like, a lot of the stuff, though. He really bought into it, like that whole thing of like just sort of living this lifestyle of like making it up as you go, and like being whatever it is that you want to be, or turning yourself into whatever it is you want to turn yourself into. Like, he really believed that and bought into that and meant that for himself and for other people, is that like, you can literally wake up tomorrow and decide, I'm going to do something completely different and be somebody completely different and do something completely different and do that. And now you are that. And this other thing is now dead and gone. I think that the idea of Jerry Jeff Walker being like a Jewish guy from New York and turning himself into Jerry Jeff Walker really hit with him. Like that, he was like, you can really do that. And he really bought into it and believed it.
There was in one of the interviews I came across, something that he said that really rang true for me as some kind of like indication of whatever it is, this little rubric I'm following that's guiding my own atmosphere of chaos, we'll say. The expression he uses is like, music can be like for money or for medicine. And it tends to be like on the other side of the river, the music row guys, not to take anything away from that pursuit, but a guy writes a song and some other guys get together and they're like, if you change the name of the girl here or just push the chorus up front a little bit earlier, it's going to have a lot wider appeal. And starts to be this little introduction of calculation into how the song is going to be received or to maximize its commercial potential, blah, blah, blah. And that's all fine if that's the game that you want to play. But he was just like, for me, it's the medicine. The medicine is the important thing. And that rang true so strongly for me. I wanted to mention it right now because it has been like the thing that I've pursued in my own way. Like whatever success or lack thereof has come my way or not has been not incidental, but like secondary to the thing. It's the song that happens that you make in this like sacred space. It's a medicine for your soul. It's a way that you it's something you have to do so that you can understand yourself in this terrifying world that we live in. And maybe some other people, it has meaning for that. And I feel like it comes through over and over again in the songs.
And he believed in art in all of its forms. He believed in dancers. He believed in painters. He believed in photographers. He believed in filmmakers. He believed in art. And he did it for art's sake. And in fact, one of the last projects he wanted me to do for him, maybe I will at some point, I have no idea, but he wanted me to make a movie about him that was for little children, to be a movie about Todd, like for them to go live their life. Like he somehow wanted to be a role model for children, how to live their life, which I was like, I don't know how to make that movie, Todd. I can't say are you sure you wanted to be for little children? And he was like, yes. And I'm like, we're going to have to work on the screenplay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to need to nuance that a little bit, but he really believed in that of like being in art. Like when Leon, my dog, was sick and I went to work at Banana Republic, he found out that I was out there working. But first of all, he thought I kept saying I couldn't go watch football with him. He wanted me to come Tighten Up, which was our code for come watch the Titans. And I was like, I can't work at Banana Republic. And it didn't dawn on me that he wouldn't know about he wouldn't go to the mall, right? But he thought that I was saying I was, working like in the Banana Republic. You know what I mean? Like as a and he was like, that's so funny. Yeah, so I went out there finally one day and he was like, that's so funny that you say that. I love that. I've been using that. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, it's the retail
store. And I'm like, no, I'm
Mills.
folding chinos at the mall. And he was like, oh my God. And he freaked out. But by 9:00 that night, he was like, you're calling and quitting right now. And I was like, I can't. And he was like, the fuck you can't. You're picking up the phone. You call that guy right now and quit that job. And he started making phone calls and had me some gigs and stuff lined up. But he was like, that will crush your soul. Because it was funny too, because when I walked up to the house, he goes, you look like shit. And I was like, fuck you. Like, you look like shit all the time and I never say that to your face. How could you look at me and say such a thing or whatever? But he knew me so well. He could tell that my spirit was just fucking deflated. And that's where it came up. I'm like, well, I mean, the dog just died and I'm working at the Banana Republic. And he was like, that's so funny when you say that. And that's how that started. But by 9 p.m. that night, he had me other work lined up that was like creative work. He was like, you can't, that will squash you. Like he really believed in art and in artists and that you should do that at any cost. Like if you have to live in poverty to do it, it's the most important thing is to live a truly authentic creative life. And he really believed that all people were creative. Like I think it broke his heart when people worked at the store or worked at the mall. Like he didn't want that for people. He wanted them to somehow figure out what their artistic path was and to live that life. That
rings true for me so much. I don't think you can tell, but I have that has like been my guiding star my whole life long, and it's happening right now. This is that version of that.
Yeah.
At this moment, it's just like refusing to do that which will end you spiritually.
Yeah.
That has been. I will live in a car.
Yeah.
And have.
Yeah.
If that's what I need to do, so that I can have this little bit of time to make something. To make a try.
We only
You know what I
have
mean?
this brief moment. And
Yeah.
so making art is like so important. And I, he was my friend, and I'm going to miss him because he was my friend and I love him. But I also feel like, it's crazy to say because people would probably see this the wrong way, but maybe after this conversation it'll make sense. Like in so many ways, he was my North Star. Like would Todd be proud of this? Would he praise me, or would he be disappointed in me by doing this? Like a lot of times the decisions and the projects that I took on, I couldn't wait to email him about. It's not that I sought his approval. It was a thing that I knew that if Todd would be proud of me, then I was probably making the right creative choice. I was probably making the right choice for my soul. Mm-hmm. And even though I am nowhere near wealthy, I have done so many cool, incredibly
You're
cool,
fucking doing
fun,
it.
killer things in my
fucking
life.
Doing it. You're doing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. This book that I'm holding right now is a piece of art.
It is. That is the
Absolutely.
book I wanted to make. I should have made, when I came to East Nashville, I should have made that. So I live in Madison right now, which is north of Nashville, East Nashville, because they've priced me out of East Nashville. And it's a little coffee table book of portraits of it's called Portraits of My Neighbors. And it's the small business owners, the artists, some of the street people, the girl that works at the Sonic. Like it's a snapshot of the people that make up, and all of the pictures are done in the space where those people are. They aren't portraits where they came to my house with fancy lighting or any of that kind of thing. It's in their space. Because I wanted to kind of capture the moment in time of what Madison is now, because it reminds me a lot of East Nashville when I first moved to East Nashville. Like there's a recording studio next door, and there's some filmmakers that live around the corner, and like there's a holistic massage guy on the street behind me, and like there's all this little pockets mixed in with like the guy across the street who definitely sells cocaine. You know what I mean? Like it feels very similar to what East Nashville was when I first moved there. And so Justin Amaraw's wife, Laura, had come to me with this idea of doing this book about Madison. And I love the idea of this, of like capturing this snapshot in time of this place and the people that inhabit it and the buildings of it. And there's some street photography of just like the graffiti and that kind of thing, mixed in with some of the newer businesses that have come in. I didn't want to be like change is always going to happen. If you can't get behind change, you're going to really struggle in life. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to capture this little snapshot. So we got a grant through the Metro Arts Council. And luckily Vanderbilt Press took it on as a project of love for Vanderbilt Press, but it'll live in the United States Collegiate Archive, and also will live in the Nashville Public Library System for perpetuity. We'll never see a penny off of it, but I'm thrilled with it. I'm happy that I did it.
It just captures a moment in time.
Yes.
That will live forever.
Yeah.
So
And
precious.
after living through the stuff of East Nashville, when I moved to Madison, it just felt like such a right move to do something like that, because I didn't realize what was going to happen to East Nashville. And so now it becomes very awareness of me to capture things in a moment before which has always been the driving force behind all of my photography, is to capture a moment before it changes.
Let me ask you a question about relationships and Todd, and also anything I ask, if it's just too weird, it'll never have existed on the podcast. But so oftentimes a person that's as talented as maybe he is and is driven, maybe it can be single-minded about pursuing their art. And I think a lot of what we've been talking about has shone a light on Todd's single-mindedness about being Todd. And with that comes, it's hard to live with people like that across time. And it seems like you guys, I'm sure there have been ups and downs, but you've managed to, you were on great terms when he passed.
Oh, yeah.
And so what do you attribute that, Stacie?
Being flexible and allowing people to be themselves. I think it's the key to one of the reasons that I feel like people resonate with me as a photographer. I don't want to say it's one of the reasons I'm a good photographer. I think it's just one of the reasons that clients and people resonate with me, is because I have a very infallible ability to just allow people to be who they are without expectations. Todd and I definitely had our ups and downs. We fought I mean, we had some knockdown dragouts over the years, but always at the center of it is I allowed him. I think that's why our photo shoots work. Like I just allowed him to be who he was without judgment. And many times I would tease him, like the very things that other people would criticize him for, being irresponsible or like whatever. Like I would praise him for it and be like, I think it's genius. Like the fact that you don't have to carry keys or a wallet or a driver's license. You don't know who your insurance carrier is. Like, teach me your ways. You know what I mean? Like, because I have a million responsibilities and you have zero, and people will criticize you for having zero responsibilities. But I look at that and I'm like, oh, that'd be nice. You know what I mean? Like, it's so but I feel that way about people in general. I think it's one of the reasons that I worked in the homeless outreach for so long. Like it's allowing people to just be who they are and meet them where they're at with no expectations or without pushing them to do something different or to live up to what I expect somebody to be or to think or to feel or to do or to dress or to just let people be.
Did you ever, and I don't ask this with any judgment at all because I get everything you're saying. Did you ever feel like you were enabling, or, like sometimes a person can be like that and maybe when they should step in and be like, dude.
Well, I mean, no, I don't. I mean, because like I said, we got into some knockdown dragouts, and there were things about some aspects of his lifestyle that I didn't like, and we thought about it. I mean, I'm not going to get into the specifics because plenty of people have lots to say about how he lived his life. And first of all, it's none of my fucking business.
Sure.
You know what I mean? What he does with his personal life or what he does with his body is it's 0% my business. I loved him as a person and wanted to see him be healthy and make right choices. But like, he knew where, I mean, I think that you can allow somebody to be who they are and also tell them what things that concern you or that you'd like to see people do differently. But at the end of the day, if it's a really toxic relationship, sure, you can cut somebody off and end it if it's a toxic relationship. But if it's somebody that you care about and it's not affecting your personal life, like the thing is that the choices that somebody like Todd made for himself had zero effect on me in my life. They didn't affect me other than my care for him. He didn't push any of that on me. I didn't live with him. You know what I mean? It's not like he came dragging Dave Schools into my living room at 4 a.m, tripping on acid. And I don't know that he did that to anybody. No offense to Dave Schools. You know what I mean? But I didn't have to live with it. So it never created a toxic place. And I had strong boundaries with him. Like we had very strong boundaries with each other of like what I could tolerate, with the amount of chaos I could tolerate in my life and the amount of chaos that I could not tolerate in my life. And that also, I think, helped. So maybe it's setting boundaries with people.
I think
that's
feeling.
The thing is it's just setting boundaries of people of being like, this is what I can tolerate. This is the level of chaos that I can tolerate. And this is the level of chaos I cannot tolerate. And there were times we had conversations. I mean, I posted it in my story on Facebook about it, but it's a true story. Like he wanted me to come to Texas when he was doing that Cheatham Street warehouse takeover after Kent Finley had died. And I was like, fuck you. I'm not going to Texas with you for a week. No way. We'll kill each other. Because he wanted me to stay on the tour bus with him. I was like, I think that through. You and me on a tour bus with a band and Rory Carroll and all these people. Think that through. I need a hotel room and an exit plan. And so he finally was like, okay, I'll get you a hotel room. And also you can charge, and that was a number he came up with, which is like $1.79 insanity charge for every minute that he made me crazy. I just had to notate on the invoice, if it was an hour, 60 minutes at $1.79 a minute, whatever. And this was the insanity charge, and this is what it was for. But like and on my invoice as a Todd, there is a slot for it. I never took advantage of the insanity clause, but I think that also speaks to his character. Like his willingness to recognize, there are people who can be an ass and they're never going to recognize or own. Like that's part of our friendship, is that he was willing to recognize his flawedness in that. You know what I mean? Like, and that meant a lot to me, that he wasn't just like, I'm paying you, come do whatever. He knew what he was. Yeah. And he allowed me to that. And so I think also that plays a lot into long-term friendships or relationships or anything like that, is that you setting strong boundaries and somebody being willing to say, I recognize that I'm flawed and this is where I make you nuts. And so I'm going to make this allotment for you is a huge part of it.
Where's that floating picture?
Oh yeah. See, I was supposed to post that when he died. And I can't.
Yeah.
And that was after he had washed off the Blind Lemon Pledge, and that's the last frame that I shot that day. And when we saw it, we both thought it was just haunting and weird and whatever, and we joked about it. It was his idea. He's like, when I die, you got to post that. And I still can't. But I do love it. It's peaceful. And he had finally washed off all of the costuming and the makeup and the everything, and was just floating in his lake. And our picture day was over, and he wound up getting out of the water and drying off and going in and going to bed and sleeping off the acid trip he was on. And I drove home thinking, wow, what a trip. And yeah. And so I posted the picture of him tipping the hat, because I love that shot of him tipping the hat, because it's just a nod to who he was as a character. But that's the one I was supposed to post, and I have failed him in the end because I can't.
Well, it's going to live on this podcast.
But I gave it to you to post, because I feel like now I've at least I have met my expectations.
I'm honored to be included in the process.
Yeah.
Well, let's just shift gears for a second and just talk a little bit more about what's going on with you. And let me see. This is what I'm interested in generally,
okay.
And it has to do with what Todd, modeled in a way, which is that like you can live the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And you moved to Nashville. You weren't in your 20s.
Oh God,
and,
no.
You started out in a new
almost
community.
40, I think. I was 30 something. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's just like this, there's this element of, apart from your creative gifts, this element of tenacity, of gentility, of what that you just described it a second ago, which so rings true, about just, your non-judgmental attitude with people that you kind of work with, and how you just let people be themselves and they feel that and they relax. And that's a huge reason why you can take these beautiful pictures. So that's in the talent category. But in many ways you model this thing that, you pointed it to Todd as an example in, of just giving yourself permission to be creative and then having the guts to make it happen. I guess that's not even a question. That's some praise.
Well, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that that's a fair assessment of you? And has it all, if you had it to do all over again, has it been worth it?
Oh my God. Times a million has it been worth it.
Yeah.
I can't fathom, had I not moved to Nashville. Like I can't fathom what my life would be like had I not moved to Nashville. It's crazy. I mean, I spent 3 years on staff with Dolly Parton. I was a contributing photographer to Michelle Obama's book. I'm working on Winona's wardrobe archive right now. Like, I've worked with, Steve Cropper just died, but he became a client of mine the last few years, and I got to know him. Like, there's so many things. Tom T. Hall was a friend of mine. Like, I have gotten to know so many people. I did that stint with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as I did all their oral history programs and listened to all those interviews. And I've sat in Grace Slick's living room and listened to her tell her life story. Crazy that this stuff has been my life. And it has been my honor and privilege to do it. But I think that had I taken myself seriously at all, none of it would have happened, because I would have become very, I was going to move here and do this. Like, I think that people get laser focused. And instead, I just kind of let shit happen. I haven't planned very well for the future. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm old. But it has been an amazing ride along the way. And I've met so many incredible people, and I've just kind of allowed opportunities to drop in and said yes to everything that I possibly, even when I probably shouldn't have, but I've just said, yeah, if the opportunity arose, even if I felt like it was way beyond my pay, or I had no idea, like I would say yes, and then hit the YouTube and figure out what to do after it. And so always that sense of adventure and that sense of fun has always, to take some seriousness out of it, like, that's the truth. Like I want to have fun. Like, I want to have a good time. Like, I want to be enjoying life. I feel like that's the one thing about it, is that life is so flippin' short that if you're not having fun, like I mean, that goes back to the old saying of Cowboy Jack. And I did get to know him briefly for a while, but like, if you're not having fun, you're not doing your job. And he had that for studio sessions. But I think that is so universally true. I think so many people get so caught up, and I think that's why they get unhappy, is because they become laser focused on, I'm going to do this thing. And you may wind up getting there, but like, to take the left and go on the off-road and take the back road. Like, sometimes I-40 is not the route. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes all of the back roads are what make getting to that final destination the fun. Like, you know what I mean? And then you finally get to the final destination and you're like, well, this is kind of a letdown, because all of this chaos on the side was really the fun part of it. And for me, I've just kind of always sort of let that happen. I never really planned for anything. I just have sort of let shit happen to me. And I feel like that in a lot of ways that has been a contributor to how I've accomplished anything. Like, even that little book we're talking about, like, Laura met me for coffee and was like, and I was like, oh my God, yes. Like, I can't take any credit for coming up with the idea for the book. When she presented it to me, I was like, yes, and had a million ideas about it. And was passionate about doing it. But like, I've just always kind of let things happen, because I think I always have certain goals. Like, there's certain goals that I have, or certain things I'm working towards. Like, I do love clothes and I do love fashion. And so, like, doing Dolly Parton's wardrobe archive and being the director of photography on her behind the scenes book, and doing the Winona archive, and even the Michelle Obama book, like, that stuff is really fun for me, because I really love clothes and I really love history. Like, I'm a nerd about both of those types of things. And so, like, even for me now, I've got this whole other sort of life on TikTok now, and it's a complete fluke. I mean, I've got like almost 80,000 followers or something on there. People are always like, what?
Big talk. Yeah.
But it's just because, but I also allow myself to be ridiculous on there. You know what I mean? Like, but it's really clothes and fashion, especially geared towards women over 50. Like, and it's not serious in that way. Like, it's always sort of ridiculous. Like, what I'm doing is sort of ridiculous. Like, I've just turned a wall in my kitchen into this little set design and whatever. But I want to inspire people to break out of their ruts. I want them to inspire them to have fun. And if I can find like the weirdest shirt on the internet, why wouldn't I sell you that weird shirt? Like, go wear the weird shirt. Like, we're in our 50s. If there's a time to do it, let Iris Apfel guide you on your journey. You know what I mean? Buy the ridiculous ring, wear the silly necklace. Like, all of that makes me super happy. And the end goal of that really is to like figure, I don't even know what the end goal is, other than I feel like there is an avenue for me that's not necessarily, I've always been a photographer. And I love that this platform allows me to be something other than that. Like, people on there know that I'm a photographer. And if I offer a print on there for sale, like I offered some Dolly prints on there because I've also got the cover of her new book. So I was like, whatever, I'll sell some 11x14s, and people eat it up. You know what I mean? They know I'm a photographer, but it's this beautiful avenue where I can be something, I can be a side of myself that's outside of just being a photographer. And I love that that's how people know me on there. Or like, I love when people are like, you're a photographer? And I'm like, that's my biggest compliment on there, is if they don't know I'm a photographer, I'm like, yes, I've done something right. And I feel like artists, like, while I'm on this podcast that's normally geared towards musicians and stuff, I will say to you artists, as somebody who has 80,000 followers on TikTok, which on TikTok is not very many at all, really, is that it is a platform where, speaking of breaking through and allowing people to be themselves, it is a platform where you have to break down that fourth wall. To become successful on TikTok, you have to let people get through the fourth wall. Don't get on there and play your guitar in your kitchen. You can sometimes, but mostly show them how you make your favorite spaghetti recipe. Like, show them what you pack for tour. Show them your animals. Like, show them, your flaw, show them when you break something. Like, you have to allow people, and I feel like artists miss a really incredible, there's an opportunity on TikTok that people have missed because they don't get the platform. They think of it as traditional social media. Whereas on Facebook and Instagram and all these places, people have signed up specifically for your content and the fourth wall content that you've created. And on TikTok, those people will follow you to the ends of the earth. Like, you have an opportunity there to create a fan base that will follow all of your music and buy all your records and do all of your things, but also will love you for you, like as a whole flawed human being. And that fan base is probably going to be more diehard than anybody you're going to create on Facebook and Instagram. And I think people miss it because you can create this really incredible community on that platform. I love the community. And I've made so many real life friends now through that platform all over the world. Like I could go to Australia right now and have places to stay. You know what I mean? I've made friends with this woman, Brandis Bradley, who's now got a clothing line on QVC, but she started doing TikToks from the hospital room with her mother who was dying of dementia. Like people can transform their lives on there, but I think that artists, I feel, don't understand the platform. And then they get frustrated with it and they're like, TikTok. And they kind of like put it down before you give it an opportunity because it's very different.
It's backstage, not on stage. Is that a fair analogy?
It's on the way to the show. It's not even backstage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's the real thing of you getting taking a shower. Like it's before you get to the venue. Like it's that break the fourth wall. But it's a freeing place. If you can do it, it is so absolutely freeing. It's such a fun place to be yourself and be weird and just say the weird. Like it is the place where you could. Andy Marie Tillman has a famous soundbite that's on there where it's like, say the weird thing, do the weird thing. But like it is the place where you can say the weird thing and do the weird thing, and nobody's going to look at you sideways. And in fact, you're going to bring people in. And so I like exploring new avenues and like just seeing where that thing goes.
Well, I find you to be a very inspiring person, and the way that you have kind of juxtaposed this sort of curated. I mean, the whole photographer thing is a world of intention and curation.
Yeah,
you know, and this speaks to its opposite.
I think that my photography is the same. Like I understand that I am a classically trained photographer. So when you look at my body of work, you see that. But if really behind the scenes, and that is the thing, like behind the scenes, it was all chaos. It's always controlled chaos. And if it's not, I probably didn't have fun and the pictures probably aren't that good. Like there's always an element of that in sort of everything that I do. There's an element of chaos. I don't want, I think I actually did another little podcast yesterday. It's a totally different type of thing than what we're doing here today. But I was talking about that my goal is always to it's the same thing like we were just talking about with TikTok, but my goal always, no matter who's in front of my camera, my goal is to break the fourth wall, at least with me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go into a session and have you sit and we're going to do this very serious like moment. Like we're going to put on weird music. I'm going to try to take it down to as low amount of shit and people as there is. Like, even when I do portraits with Dolly Parton, like it's not a big, like, it's not what she does with other photographers. It is very scaled back. It's 4 or 5 people. And a lot of times she'll kick people out of the room because I want to get to that thing, like that the eyes of the window to the soul. I want to get to that real that thing inside the person and not the curated image that people have made up to present to the world, because I think that first of all is the more beautiful part of a person, that reality, that person who they really are behind the whole facade that they've created. That, to me, allowing people to be themselves, like that's, to me, the interesting person. That, to me, is the part of you that I want to photograph. That's the thing I want to get to the center of, not this image that you've curated for everybody else.
I think that's a really good way to end it. This is really positive. It's been, I thought this would be a little bit more sad, but it's been kind of a joyful conversation about a man that spread joy everywhere. And I love how he touched you, and you are like taking that baton and charging forward in your own way. And you're still like, you got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to be doing this time next year? It's like anyone's guess.
It totally is. And I love that I lived that life.
Yeah,
I love that
absolutely.
literally, like, if people are like, where are you see yourself in 5 years? I have no idea, and I wouldn't want to guess. Because every single time in my life that if I tried to predict where I would be in a year or 5 years or 10 years, I would have completely screwed myself. Like, if I could have planned, like if somebody had asked me when I was like 20 or 25 years old, like, pick your ideal life. Oh my God, I would have screwed myself so hard because I would have missed so much along the way. Just stay fluid.
Stay fluid, folks. Stacie, thanks for talking to me.
Thanks for having me over, Korby.
Let's hang out again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Morse Code Podcast is produced by Korby Lenker and Jared Hammond in East Nashville, Tennessee. Our executive producer is Randa Newman. You can find full videos for this and all previous episodes at morsecodepodcast.com.